different from the...
Welcome back to live coverage of YCS Prague, the first YCS in the new year. My name is Oliver German and I'm your host for the weekend, and I'm joined here by Robert Grayson Hooley.
Great to be here.
Yes, and we have had some exciting matches this morning. We started with a Necros versus Necros game, which was actually quite entertaining, mostly thanks to some interesting plays, like baiting a Valkyrus when there was actually...
Oh yes.
And then right after that, we just had Shadol, which were still going strong against Valkyrus, well, also, but against Necros. And that was also a quite exciting match, but it ended 2-1 for the Necros player.
Yes, now it was quite an explosive game.
Yes.
Every game was quite explosive for the Shadol player, but just in the end, the Necros had just a bit of an upper hand, a bit more of a toolbox.
Yes, and
then
speaking of the end of that game, many of you have pointed out that at the end of the game he has 3 level 4 monsters. He overlaid 2 of them for Gagaga Cowboy to shoot for game, and that wouldn't work thanks to the Necros of Unicorn that was right next to it.
Now, it is an activated effect, so he can still pay the cost to be able to send to the graveyard, but nothing would happen. Basically, what happened then is Sepp conceded.
Yeah, even though, because we couldn't tell that because we don't have microphones on the table, but you could tell when you looked at these guys, they have been talking throughout the game the whole time. They had Temius also said this in a post-game interview that they had quite a good time, and Sepp saw no way to come back regardless, even if it would have taken one more turn. And also one more thing that I would like to say about this is there's a difference between cheating, which is consciously doing something that is not allowed and taking advantage of, well, not exactly the rules, but not playing by the rules, and messing up. And this was, if you have 3 level 4 monsters and you use the wrong 2 ones, you just messed up. It's not like you're trying to gain unfair advantage.
And he didn't actually do anything that would have gained him a real advantage, other than obviously winning the game at that point.
Yeah.
He still was going to win at that point.
And yeah, at least that's the way Sepp saw it, so I'm going to side with him on that one. But let's look ahead of the things to come. Chris Bowes is going to go up against Ronin Vujosevic from Serbia. So it's the UK versus Serbia in our last feature match during the Swiss portion of the event. Let's take you to the table with these 2 guys. And we picked this because we were aware that Chris was playing Qliphort. And we now learned, once they sat down, that Ronin is actually the last player in competition that plays Yosenju.
Yes, he is the only person that is going to be able to make it into the top 32 that is playing Yosenju. And I believe when I was talking to the deck check team, they were telling me that it's the only one that made it through to day 2.
Oh, okay. So Serbia putting up quite the showing here. And again, we have a player from Eastern European country. We were expecting those guys, and they have been making quite a strong showing.
Yeah. Now there's an upstart goblin, which is bringing, and a scout there.
Yes, and this is the most important card in the Qliphort deck, the Qliphort Scout, allowing you to search your deck for a Qliphort card, and you have to pay 800 life points. But you're always going to pay those 800 life points.
Yeah, I mean, you can activate it 10 times in a game, but you can activate it 9 times and and not reduce your life points to 0.
Yes.
It's one of the main reasons why, although Upstart Goblin still sees play, it immediately gets taken out if you're against a Qliphort player for something that isn't going to give them as much of an advantage. Now, Ronin is actually playing the anti-meta version of Yosenju that we've seen earlier.
Yeah, 2 times already this weekend. And this is the opener for Chris Bowes. Many cards on the table.
Yeah, including that Mind Crush there. So he's not really going to have to worry about this Pot of Duality that's coming in there, which is going to get him a Yosenju Camel 1. He's just checking there what the effect Camel 1 is, and that's the one that actually returns a card from the field to hand. Yeah,
and also he now gave away that he was playing Yosenju, because before that, of course, no way for Chris Bowes to know that his opponent was running Yosenju.
Now, Pot of Duality, fantastic card with Yosenju, because you don't special summon. They all normal summon each other. I mean, you can, of course, bring out some rank 4s with that, but, of course, not under Pot of Duality. So you run 3 Pot of Duality, being able to get all of the cards that you need. Now, unlike all of the ones that we've seen, this one is actually running Yosenju's Secret Remove, which is basically a Solemn Judgment for Yosenju's.
Yes.
With no drawback. You just have to have a Yosenju. Now, he is
So you were saying he's running it, or his
Yes, he is actually running the
Okay.
secret move.
So the first time we see that card.
Yep.
'Cause the-
It's been a, to be fair, for its namesake, it has been a secret move to most players. it, as the judges say, it's a secret.
Okay, there's been a mind crush for Chris Bowes.
Yep, and that's going to get rid of the camel one.
Yeah. Mind Crush, very good card at the moment. Normally, or traditionally used to be a side deck card. You would only introduce it once you knew that your opponent is playing some cards that allow him to add cards from his deck to his hand. In this format, every deck is trying to do that.
Yeah.
Even Yosenjus that don't have something in the archetype itself, but then they use Pot of Duality to do that.
Now, without any sort of back row removal at the moment, Chris is not in a great position against 2 Mirror Forces, a Torrential Tribute, a Vanity's Emptiness, and a Fiendish Chain.
Although he can just keep paying for Scout and adding more and more monsters to his side of the field. And there's little that Ronin can do to stop that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get the Qliphort player that many surges.
Interesting. Now, it looks like he is going to go for the Stealth. Stealth, of course, cannot be chained to, so Torrential Tribute will do nothing to it. By tributing Helix as well, you are allowed to destroy a spell trap card on the field. So it's possible he may hit both of the Mirror Forces.
Let's see. He's going to roll the die, I guess, and try to hit 2 here. He just explains, pointing out these are the effects. This is what's going to happen.
Oh, he's building his chain to actually return Scout to hand. And to destroy the Vanity's Emptiness. Good hit.
Very good hit, yes, indeed. So he can now replay the Scout.
Yep, he also just searched with his Sacrifice for a Monolith. Monolith, when you tribute a monster during your turn, well, if you tribute Qli monsters for a tribute summon, or tribute at all, you get to draw a card for each monster you tribute. Let's just have a check and see. There. A lot of text on that card. If you tribute summon this turn. Okay, yep. So he's going to actually be able to draw a card as well. And that's one of the things that...
It's also interesting to note that it doesn't need to be on the field when you tribute summoning, but even when you play it later on, you get to draw.
Yeah, because it's not if you tribute someone while this card is face up on the field.
Yeah.
Now, Ronin is maining Mistake, so he's going to be looking for that. He is also siding one as well, so he's ready to be able to bring all of them in. Shared Ride also.
Yeah, so he's definitely prepared for the popular decks, most notably the Necros deck.
Yosenju coming in with the Secret Forces. And he's actually just taking the damage, not actually looking to use either of the Mirror Forces that he's got.
Yeah, also, he's gonna try and bait his opponent, or like make him think that he doesn't have a Mirror Force, I guess.
Although the issue with that is he can just Pendulum Summon. He knows that he's got both of his scales, and he's got rid of the Vanity's Emptiness. So there it comes out.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
With a Sacrifice as well. Oof. So, yeah, that's a very big problem for him.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why some players were stepping away from running Yosenju. Even though it's really good against Necros, you might have problems against some of the other decks.
Not necessarily. Well, yeah, because you're basically returning them straight to hand. But that's why Yosenju is suddenly a full-on anti-meta deck, because it doesn't really worry about most of the anti-meta cards.
Yeah. It can run it. It can run them itself without being affected by them, which makes it so much stronger.
I mean, Mistake is usually going to be a problem for you if you're running it, but other than that, you should be okay. Now, Yosenju's, as I said, came out in the Secret Forces. They're an extremely powerful archetype. Can create abilities of just attacking for 8,000 damage in one turn, if you have the correct hand.
Yeah, but you really need the correct hand. You don't have that many ways to search for that hand.
So well, you have the 3/5 aforementioned Tenkies, but it's you usually play out with Yosen Training Ground, which isn't actually played in any of these decks.
All right, so Chris Bowes pulling even further ahead. in a very good spot here.
And he's just pendulum summoned again. Oh. Unfortunately, he doesn't know. Oh, and the Torrential Tribute hits the field. Ooh,
Yeah,
not great. But he's going to get a Sacrifice Search.
Yeah,
And he can just bring all of those monsters out.
exactly.
Again.
It's just a matter of time. Next turn, those guys are bound to make another appearance. And that's definitely not good news for Ronin, who should... What he really needs here is a way to finish this game quickly. He's got a creature swap. That's also a card we have not seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Typically, this card used to be played with searchers like Mystic Tomato or something, where you would swap control of one of these cards to your opponent, attack over it, and then you would get to search because the effect would trigger in the graveyard.
Well, my favorite use for creature swap at the moment is actually to bring out I believe it's Bahamut Shark. Use its effect to special summon an Acid Golem Destruction from your extra deck and then creature swap it to your opponent, because then it can't attack and your opponent's taking 2,000 damage each of their standby phases. And they also can't special summon.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a pretty good combo. Why is nobody playing this?
It's getting it out.
Yeah.
It's one of those rogue decks. Generally, you have to use Inferno Reckless Summon and the totem. I can't remember the actual name of the card, but it's a totem with 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense.
Right.
Which stops you special summoning monsters other than water monsters.
So Ronin did draw into a Snatch Steal to get control over the Qliphort Helix. And now he can fight back. A little bit, at least.
The issue there still being that if that monster gets destroyed, it's still going back to Chris's extra deck.
Yes. And Chris drew... He's got a Disc and Stealth in hand, and he just drew for his turn. And that is the Pendulum Summon.
Okay. There's 2 Helixes. So if both of those are attributed, which they just have been for a Stealth, that means bad news. Okay, so he's essentially just returned 1 card to hand. We'll see what that is. Oh, he's chaining Fiendish Chain there. You can't respond to the activation of Stealth. So Mirror Force and Fiendish Chain are gone. There's a Mirror Force back into the hand. And then he activates his own Snatch Steal to take back his own monster and attack.
Ooh, it goes both ways, and that
And he
concludes
just
the first game.
wow.
Yes. Great comeback from Chris Bowes, who didn't really seem to be under that much pressure in the first game. His Klee engine was really, well, putting in the hours and getting him there with that Qliphort Scout left unchecked, searching him all the pieces he needed to solve that puzzle.
Yeah, now he's just having a chat with his opponent there, trying to explain something with Snatch Steal. Okay. Not quite sure what he's talking about there, but that's fine. I do actually...
I think what he's trying to say is we both side out of Snatch Steal.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Because I've seen that a couple of times, that players, they don't like certain cards for whatever reason.
I believe it was Sixth Sense they were last doing it with. They were trying to make a statement with it. Yeah, they are both siding out of Snatch Steal. He's like, no, I'm not siding out of Snatch Steal.
I need my Snatch Steal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen that a couple of times, that a player is like, hey, I don't like this card for whatever reason. In this case, it was quite
powerful card.
equal. Yeah, I mean they one-upped each other with the Snatch Steals. So
I mean they with the Sixth Sense as well. It was a very powerful card, but both players was playing it anyway.
Yep.
Is the way that I used to think of it. Now, I've seen Chris Bowes around a lot around the UK. He does go to a lot of regionals. Every single regional I've been to, he has been there also.
Now the question is to how many regionals did you go?
Well, I tried to visit a lot of the organisers that I work with, just to kind of see how they're running things, how they're doing, if they need anything from us. So we've visited around 7 or 8 regionals for this season.
Okay, so not too bad.
We travel a lot, basically. Generally just trying to help out. If they need any judges or anything like that, we generally, me, Paul, and Lisa will go scorekeep and judge for them.
Okay.
So
that's a full service package that you guys are putting together.
We like to make sure that our organisers are happy with the service that we provide.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're confident that they can run their events. Because a lot of judges, a lot of organisers are worried that they won't find a judge. But no, that's fine. There are usually judges in the area.
So you're simply solving that problem for them.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it would be interesting to talk to Ronin what the community in Serbia is like.
Yeah.
We, of course, had that country breakdown yesterday where we learned that there are not that many players from Serbia, definitely less than there were from the Netherlands, which was 14, and that is the last country on our country breakdown. So less than 14 players from Serbia in competition. Not a huge community, but then again, you never know what happens after this tournament.
Yeah. A little bit of a riffle shuffle there. I know a lot of players that would be cringing at that point.
All right, who is going to go first here? Are they still shuffling?
I believe that Chris is actually still siding.
Oh, okay.
He may have taken a bit of an offence to his opponent refusing to side out a snatch steal there.
Getting some payback here. Yeah, he seems to be done now.
Snatch steal, of course, he's being a massive card to Yosenju, seeing as they don't really play that many monsters. Although 369, they still run 11 monsters with a lot of search. But none of them are really big enough to jump over a 2,800 attacker. Maybe Yosenju Kama 2 with a Suchik.
Yeah. And there you see 7 pile shuffling, or is it 8?
That is just throwing all of the cards on the table.
Yeah, I'm always very doubtful of that technique of first using a 7 pile and then just putting them together again. But I guess it works. It's randomized, and that's what shuffling is there for.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. If people have seen me in the past, they understand my feelings on shuffling. That it's a very skillful thing. It tells you a lot about a player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 7 piles is the golden that you want to go for.
2 copies of Threatening Roar in Ronin's opening hand in the second game. That's definitely not good.
It really depends who's going first here, because there's the Solemn Warning there as well, which is going to make things upsetting. Dark Hole, not really a drawback as much for Chris if he can get his Pendulum Summons out. Pot of Duality's opening. And there's the Skill Drain, which is going to be annoying, but I believe...
Fiendish Chain and the Mystical Space Typhoon.
And this is the point where he'd probably actually take the Mystical Space Typhoon. Understanding that he is playing... Oh, actually, no. He did take the
Skill Drain.
Although Skill Drain does make all of those monsters in his hands just normal summonable without a tribute and on their full attack.
But you do expect your opponent to side into, if he doesn't max out on Mystical Space Typhoon in his main deck, he would definitely side into them because you need to shut down the all-important Qliphort Scout.
Now, a lot of players that I've spoken to were expecting when Yosenju was going to be here, it was going to be the big beatdown version that uses the L Pendulum Summit monster to be able to protect the monsters, do a lot of searching, do a lot of attacking. A lot of people weren't expecting the anti-meta aspect to it. And there's a Tenki. And that's going to go through. Here's what Chris has on the field there. Skill Drain, Fiendish Chain, Mind Crush, which is going to get rid of that Yosenju Kama 2.
So, I mean, he's got the Dark Hole to wipe the board, but then again, he does have the problem of the Pendulum monsters returning. And the Mind Crush again interfering a lot with Ronin's plans here.
But he does now see that there is the Dark Hole creature swap Raigeki and Threatening Roar. As long as he can keep a monsters off of the field, Chris has nothing to fear from that creature swap.
What do you think about creature swap in that deck anyway?
Creature swap is great, especially because the Yosenju monsters return to your hand after they've been normal summoned. So you're going to normal summon creature swap and then get the monster back to your hand anyway.
Again, Pot of Duality revealing 2 copies of Pot of Duality. We've seen that yesterday already.
Yeah.
Bad luck. But then again, most of the time that's an easy choice.
Well, he does have the mistake. Although he could always get a Pot of Duality and hope for a better one next turn.
Either way, you're thinning out your deck, so that's a good thing. what's going on for Chris here. He's got the disc, skill drain, and Fiendish Chain on the field. So he also has got a lot of ways to interact with monsters, but his opponent doesn't have any monsters.
Yeah. Now, we didn't really have a look at what Chris would have sided in there. We've seen that he's actually sided in the Solemn Warning and the Mystical Space Typhoon. Some spell-shouting arrows in there, possibly. He's also playing Rivalry of the Warlord. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, a lot of anti-cards, really.
Ronin is running Effect Veiler, Maxi, Twister, Shared Ride, which I believe he probably would have bought in at this point. He's running extra mistakes. Fairy Wind, which is definitely going to move to his main deck.
And yeah, he's already down to 4,400 life points. That's why he uses the Threatening Roar here to make sure he's not going to take a lot of damage, because thanks to that skill drain, it could have been a lot of damage. And there are his monsters, apparently.
There's Yosenju Camel 1, which is going to return a card from the field.
It's also
the hand as well.
fun to point out that Ronin did now draw into the Snatch Steal.
Now, actually, if he did draw into the Snatch Steal there, so he doesn't need to use the creature swap. I was just saying, if he plays the Yosenju Kama and Fiendish Chain does happen there. Or skill drain.
Yeah, definitely skill drain.
Now, unfortunately, that wasn't a fantastic move. Because even though he didn't know that the Snatch Steal was there, he knew a creature swap was there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why he didn't use the
Fiendish Chain over.
No, I mean the creature swap. I mean Ronin. Why didn't he now use the creature swap?
The Kama wouldn't return to hand.
Yeah, but he could still simply attack over it, and he would be left with a gigantic monster on the
But
field.
he's got a gigantic monster and the Yosenju Kama 1 now.
Yeah, so he wants to save the creature swap for later, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, if he can get rid of the Fiendish Chain, then he's going to be in a better position.
And here we can see why Ronin did not want to side out of Snatch Steal, whereas Chris really wouldn't have minded siding out that card. It's turning the tides in this game, putting Chris under a lot of pressure. Suddenly he is on 5,300 after the attacks connect.
Now, there is a Solemn Warning set down as well. But 2,000 life points is not something that... he's actually left on 2,500 there with Chris Bowes. But he is gaining 1,000 this turn.
Yeah. The drawback of Snatch Steal, that isn't really that much of a drawback. And also Chris Bowes got Snatch Steal in his hand now. So he might see the same move that we've seen in the first game, where 2 Snatch Steals would cause a monster to switch control several times. There we go.
On the disc. Now there is a Solemn Warning out.
Yeah, and our judge just pointing it out again. You are on 3,500 life points, Chris, because of the Snatch Steal.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, there is a Raigeki set in hand with a Threatening Roar down. Of course, he isn't aware of this right now. There's a Monolith, a Helix, and a Stealth in hand. He can just normal summon, which would bring out the Solemn Warning. Or he could, depending on, because I'm not quite sure of what the scales are. Would you be able to just bring up Monolith, Stealth, and Helix for me?
Yes, let's try that.
Yeah, I believe he's doing what I thought he might do. Yep, there it is. Okay, he's going to bring out...
The Monolith.
He's going to attempt a Pendulum Summon here.
Yep. Which is, I think it's a good choice.
Threatening Rod to stop it. And Pendulum Summon.
In main phase 2, maybe.
Yeah. Which would bring out a Stealth. Oh, he's bringing out the disc.
Yeah, he's using the monster from his extra deck.
Okay. Interesting that he's... Oh, he's getting rid of the Snatch Steals. And a Solemn Warning is going to make... Oh, maybe... Oh, hang on. Does
he cannot... Oh, well, he can, because
can.
the summon never succeeds if you use Solemn Warning. Although, interestingly enough, it doesn't seem like Ronin wanted to activate that warning.
It doesn't return to hand. Skill drain. Okay. Make sure he's aware of that. That's fine. Although he should really attack that Yosenju cam. Oh, he can't, can he? Oh, this is unfortunate, because now a creature swap can happen.
Yeah, he was in the battle phase.
And he draws 2 cards. And because of Monolith.
Okay.
Just
So
see
now
what that
it's
is.
back to Ronin, who has a Raigeki and a creature swap in hand. And he drew into a Mirror Force, also very, very good. Especially since he's low on life points, you don't really want to activate that Solemn Warning if you can avoid it. And that Mirror Force is a good way to avoid it.
Now, he does have the ability to take the stealth, give his opponent the Yosenju Camera 1, and just attack straight over it. Unfortunately, well, there is a Fiendish Chain there.
He instead goes for the Raigeki.
Okay. Which is unfortunate because he isn't aware that there is a Fiendish Chain down there, which he should. Possibly look at activating with how low his life points is.
Yeah. So, Chris is
I think
taking the attack?
Yeah, I think he's trying to set big.
No, he's not. So there is the Fiendish Chain. And since he can just bring back his Pendulum monsters, he's got all the time in the world, so to speak.
He's just called the Judge over just to make sure that he's aware that he can still activate Fiendish Chain onto Yosenju Camera 1 because it is still an effect monster.
Ah, yes.
He
Monsters don't not become an effect monster because of something like skill drain.
It doesn't
They
need
just
to negate
lose
the
the
effect.
effects, yeah.
It doesn't actually need to negate the effect. It just needs it to be an effect monster.
Yeah. So Chris Bowes draws for his turn, and he's got a Sacrifice with a Carrier and a Scout in his hand.
Now, he really needs to get rid of the Solemn Warning and Mirror Force to be able to actually really do much. This is the issue that he's having. Now, if I was in his position, just to kind of see what it is that's there, I would, do exactly what he's doing now, which is attempt to Pendulum Summon first and see if there's any response. And, there's the Solemn Warning, which actually sends all of them to the graveyard.
Yeah, that's very, very good for Ronin, who finally gets rid of those Pendulum monsters once and for all with one of the few ways to accomplish just that.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's still in a world of trouble with that Qliphort Carrier hitting play. And thanks to skill drain, it's also up on 2,800, right?
2,400.
2,400.
Yep, the biggest issue that he's going to have now is the fact that although Sacrifice is equipped to it, Mirror Force is going to happen.
So there's the attack. And
he's maybe letting it happen. Yes, he did. Interesting. Very interesting.
What is the reasoning here? Why would you have the attack connect when you have?
Maybe he wants to have a monster out there for creature swap, because then he can attack for game. But he needs to draw into a monster, which he may do now. If he reveals a monster card, he has essentially won. Has he?
Chris still has 3,500. I'm not aware.
He's taking the Torrential Tribute.
Oof. So we couldn't see the other 2 cards, but let's just say they weren't the best cards for the job.
I mean, Torrential Tribute's going to stop summons. He's got something to stop an attack. He's still in a good position.
Well, I wouldn't say he's in a good position.
He's in a position.
Yeah, he's still in the game. Let's just agree on that.
He's going to stop an attack. He's going to stop summon. So he's there. Yeah, there's the Mirror Force.
Yeah, now he has to activate it. I think he was just trying to wait for, trying to see if he could get a monster, because then he would have the upper hand on the field again.
Yeah.
Thanks to that creature swap. Now that's never gonna happen, because he's just got 1,400 life points. So the 2 choices are: Chris is summoning a monster and attacking for game, or Chris is summoning a monster and Ronin gets rid of it. There is no in between that. Chris will have a monster on the field and it's going to hang around for Ronin to take control of, unless this happens and he summons it in main phase 2. There is a monster and there's a creature swap. So I'm not 100% sure, but wasn't that not the correct move?
He knew that there was a creature swap.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused as to why he did it. He may have just forgotten that there was one there.
But why not summon a monster? Because you know that your opponent has a creature swap face down. and just say, okay, I'm not going to give you something to take control of. I'm just going to pass. Because with 3,500 life points, he's...
And the only actually one card to be able to draw, you're not summoning more than one monster.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not exactly about to
And he
be
only has
destroyed in
he
one
has
turn.
2 Qliphort Scouts, which both have 2,800 defense. He can attempt to pendulum summon, but it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, Scout also cannot be normal summoned either. Although, if he does play the Torrential Tribute, he loses pretty much everything there. Okay, that actually gives Qliphort monster on your side of the field an extra 300 attack.
Yeah, so I'm questioning that line of plays. I mean, now Chris can get back into it again thanks to the Pendulum Summon that is going to allow him to put up some field presence again. And eventually, he can just trade monsters, I guess, with attacks.
Okay, just jumping in there and just making sure of something. Okay, that's being tributed. Tribute set. And Qliphort Carrier is going to return that to hand.
And Ronin is not happy about
No,
that.
because
That would be
he's got it now.
possibly the time to flip the Torrential Tribute, but then again he would be exposed.
I don't think he was aware of what was going to actually really happen there.
Oh, actually, Torrential Tribute, of course, you cannot activate it when somebody sets a monster.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's only when summoned. But
So
then he
and
just
that is
summons
it, yes.
then. Yeah. Wow.
All right.
Okay.
A little bit, not exactly the straight way to victory, but...
Chris playing around it really, really well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He didn't play around that creature swap, and I'm still not 100% sure whether that was the right call.
I wonder if he was thinking, well, maybe if my opponent steals my monster, I can then still tribute something, return that back to my hand. I think he was playing to get... rather than playing to get around it immediately, he was planning to get around it. By making his opponent use it. He's thinking, look, I've got so many life points. I know that the Yosenju monsters have got 1,000 attack at the least, so I'm only going to take 1,800 at the most.
Right.
So it is a case